Hello everyone and welcome to Superman Homepage Live, brought to you by supermanhomepage.com, the number one Superman fan site in the world. In this, our March 21st, 2022 show, we're going to be covering a range of topics, including Superman celebrities appearing at upcoming conventions. We're going to be talking about rare comic books and artwork available at auction, upcoming comic books, next week's or tomorrow's new episode of Superman and Lois. So much more, so much to get through. And to let you know how you can get involved in tonight's show, let me introduce you to my co-host, Mr. Michael Bailey. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Steve, how's it going?
Well, and yourself?
Oh, I can't complain yet. Got a lot of fun stuff to talk about tonight.
Yes, we do.
So let's get right into it, because Superman Homepage Live is all about Superman, and therefore we want to hear from the people that are watching us live right now on YouTube. So, about halfway through the show, and if we don't have too much to talk about, we're going to take calls. How does that work? Well, we're going to use Skype. Go to Skype, search your Superman homepage, and send us a message that you'd like to be on the show. Now, a couple things. Wait for us to call you, because this is all very tenuous and it can get screwed up really easy. Also, if you are watching Superman Homepage Live via with an external speaker, please mute that if we can call you, because we're on a bit of a delay and that can screw things up.
Yes, indeed. And for those who are tuning in live via YouTube tonight, we encourage you to join in and chat with fellow fans. There's heaps of people already tuning in or talking there. Post your comments, ask questions. Michael and I will look to them and react to them as the show goes along. And if you'd like your comment or question featured on the screen during the show, it's called a super chat. All you have to do is click the little dollar symbol there. A slider will appear on your screen. You decide on the dollar amount you're willing to donate, and we will feature your comment or question or sticker. I think there's super stickers as well on the screen as we go along. And thank you to our sponsors and patrons, Douglas Meacham, John Patrick Van Pelt and Tina Murray. Thank you to our major sponsor, Blazed Candle Co. They offer everything from dark sense of humour to positive uplifting candles. They even do custom orders. Place your order today at blazedcandleco.com or use the QR code on the screen for all of their websites and social media. Blazed Candle Co. Lighten up. Yes, and if you want to get involved, just click the join button below on YouTube. Different levels of perks for our members, or you can go to patreon.com/Superman homepage. And yes, as JP Rocha just reminds us in the comments, hit that like button. Give us a thumbs up. It's really important. If you're watching the show, do that right now. It goes a long way to making sure others find our show, and that YouTube make sure that others can see our weekly live show. All right, what's your week been like, Michael?
Busy.
Yeah.
works really crazy right now. So,
okay.
And there was no Superman and Lois last week, so
That's
that
true.
was a little that made me a little sad. I realized I missed it.
Yeah, it's funny that way. Like, you get used to having a routine where you watch a certain show on a certain night, and especially now what we do, it's kind of you miss it. It's like a hole in your week.
Yeah.
Michael F. Ballick in the comments asking if it's autumn here in Australia because it's spring there in the US. Yeah, that's correct. We have the opposite living on the other side of the world. The seasons are reversed. So yes, it's autumn, or as you guys like to call it, fall. So it's starting to cool down a little bit here.
Yeah, and you might not have to worry about daylight savings time anymore. Our Senate actually approved making it permanent, so I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but
so what? It's just you're just going to stay in daylight savings time all year round.
Yep.
So
apparently
it won't be daylight savings time; it'll just be the new time.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, but we'll have to change. It'll affect me because we're still going to go in and out. I think being closer to the equator here, it has more of an effect or less. I don't know.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but they voted on it, and it boggles my mind that that's like the thing that everybody agreed on.
Weird.
So, but yeah, apparently everyone complaining because they lose an hour in the spring and gain an hour in the fall. Other things that we could do something about. No, not at all. But daylight savings time, let's jump on that.
That's interesting because Queensland, the state here above us in Australia, doesn't do daylight savings. They just stay on the same time all year round. So it's weird because we go out of sync with them when daylight savings kicks in, and they're actually thinking of bringing it in. So they're doing the opposite of what you guys are. So people are never happy. Anyway, it's not Superman related, so let's get into the Superman related. Unless Superman spinning the world backward and changing time. I mean, that's relative. But anyway, as I mentioned at the top of the show, there's a couple of... it is convention season over the next couple of months. It's already a couple of conventions have been happening. And there are some Superman celebrities attending a number of conventions coming up. And we've been collating them and letting you know about them. And first off is Planet Comic Con taking place April 22nd to April 24th. We have a couple of Superman celebrities attending there. Brandon Routh, who obviously was in Superman Returns and the crossovers on the CW, will be appearing on all 3 days, April 22nd to April 24th, as will George Newbern, who was the voice of Superman in a number of things, including Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. So head to planetcomiccon.com to, if you're in the Missouri area, the convention will be taking place at the Kansas City Convention Center in Missouri. So something for fans in that area to take a look at.
That's very exciting.
Newbern
seems to be getting around this year.
Yeah. Have you met either of those gentlemen in person?
No, I have not. The one of the years that Routh was at Dragon Con, I didn't get a chance to meet him. And that was like 2008 too. So it was like really soon after the movie. So, but no, I'd really like to meet both of them actually, because I'm a fan of Newbern as Superman.
Yeah, his voice of Superman was pretty cool. I've never met George Newbern, but I have had the pleasure of meeting Brandon Routh a couple of times. Once when he was filming here for Superman Returns in Sydney during the filming, and another time at the Superman celebration in Metropolis, Illinois, where he gave up his lunch hour to have a chat with us on camera. It was really cool. He was a real gentleman, a real nice guy.
It was very, warms my heart every time you tell that story, because I really love the fact that his parents were there too.
Yeah, sitting in the background, and his dad did one of those kind of voiceover things, like on camera things for us, saying, "Hi, I'm Superman's dad, and this is the Superman homepage." They're really nice people, and you can see that he comes from a great family. So other conventions coming up, you've got WonderCon in Anaheim, in LA. This is in California, taking place April 1st to April 3rd, and you've got a number of things taking place there. You've got, let's have a look, we've got Elliot S. Magan, he'll be there Friday, April 1st. There's like a focus panel on Elliot, as that will take place at 2 to 3 p.m. There's a artist, Michael W. Conrad, who was on Action Comics for a while. He's moved on to other things at the moment, but maybe if you want to get one of your Action comic book covers signed by him, he'll be there Friday as well. There's a special video presentation and Q&A for Superman and Lois that will take place on Saturday, April 2nd from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. And so that's pretty cool, and many of the cast members and some of the crew will be in attendance. And Jean Luen Yang, who was on Superman comics for a while, did the new Superman, the Chinese Superman, as well as the recent graphic novel series, Superman Smashes the Klan. He will be there. There's a spotlight on him on Saturday, April 2nd from 2:30 to 3:30. So that's pretty cool. A couple of things to check out and look out for if you're heading to WonderCon Anaheim.
Yeah, was WonderCon in another city at one point? How does that sound familiar?
I think it might have been. It might be like one of those like all catch-all phrases for their series of conventions. Yeah. So unless it has changed, it's still a Comic-Con International convention. Comic-Con International obviously doing San Diego Comic-Con, So there's a couple of their conventions probably under that same banner.
Comic-Con International. What, like a cheesy 70s like commercial for that?
They're not international if they don't go around the world, are they? They're only in the US.
Well, maybe because they like
bring in people from all around the world.
Bring in people from all around the world? That might be it, you know?
Yeah, you never know.
Canada's another country, technically, so...
Do they do Comic-Con Internationals in Canada?
No, but people from Canada come to, like the CW people come
Yes,
down,
that's very true, very true. And another convention taking place, Paley Fest, LA, April 2nd to April 10th. And there'll be a preview screening with conversation and Q&A with Tyler Hoechlin, Elizabeth Tulloch, Jordan Elsas, Alex Garfin, Todd Helbing, and additional guests to be announced for Superman and Lois. April 3rd at 2 p.m. that will take place. So that's pretty exciting. They seem to be getting around, the cast of the show, doing a number of conventions here and there.
Yeah, it's... this Paley Fest is a big deal, though, with having, like, just, everybody, basically.
Yes, exactly. So, if you're in the area and want to check that one out, that's in LA. Obviously, it's pretty close to where they were for other conventions. You can head across and get your tickets for that. All right, so that's pretty much the convention stuff covered. Before we jump into this upcoming episode of Superman and Lois, I did want to pay mention to the fact that our regular weekly feature, the Superman on TV, which kind of gives you in the US, Canada, and Australia now, gives you a schedule of what Superman programming is available, movies, TV shows, cartoons, etc. That'll be airing in the upcoming week. That's been given an upgrade and a facelift, and there's a new layout, so it should be a lot easier for you to be able to read and see what's coming. It's done by day in a table format, so check that out. And it's also now under the TV menu at the top of the website. If you go under that, a drop down says what's on this week, and you'll be able to check out what's on in the world of Superman on TV in your area in the US, Canada, and Australia. A lot of work goes into compiling that, so and thank you to Patrick, who does the Canadian side of that. So make sure you make use of that.
Yeah, I think people maybe sometimes forget, the site does more than just, give a place for people to come and yell at each other. That we actually do provide information.
Yeah. So
about old and new things involving Superman. So I'm only half kidding on that.
Talking about old and new things and people yelling at each other, created a bit of a controversy on social media this week. By asking the question whether or not most Superman fans are not necessarily restore the Snyderverse people, but they just want a Superman movie, preferably with Henry Cavill, but not necessarily worrying about restoring the Snyderverse. They just want to see a Superman movie, like I said, preferably with Henry Cavill. And did it explode, especially on Twitter. People went nuts.
Yeah, and that doesn't surprise me. I recently opened up Superman and Lois as a thing.
There you go.
Pop up on my feed.
Yep.
And I fast forwarded a little bit.
Yeah, you did.
And it just opened my eyes to the fact that the algorithm is like trained for Superman, but I don't get everything. So I think because I muted certain words in Restore the Snyderverse, that I didn't see any of that. So,
Lucky.
But having said that, I am not surprised that people were like fighting about the fact that people may just want a Superman film, like a traditional Superman film, and not caring about Snyder. But again, we had the 1 year anniversary of the Snyder Cut,
which is why I posted it.
This past week, and it seemed like a new round of like deleted scenes started popping up, and I'm like, does this really help anything? I mean, it's really cool for the people that like it, but it also seems to just stoke. It's like keeping the argument alive, I guess.
And I guess that's to Snyder's benefit, because he keeps his name in the limelight. he's got a rabid following of fans, and there are those people who just want to wave his flag constantly. And so for him to put out, what was it, a Green Lantern image that he put out showing what, instead of Martian Manhunter, it would have been Green Lantern coming and visiting. But I mean, wasn't the whole idea of Martian Manhunter coming the big shock of the Zack Snyder's cut anyway? So like, why are you replacing him with Green Lantern? It's like, which one do you want? So but that, like you said, it's kind of weird, he's stoking the fires.
But yeah, I mean, like, we're a year out from the Snyder Cut hitting. We're coming up, later this year, 5 years out from Justice League coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Later this week, we're 6 years away from when Batman v Superman came out, and it's just like there hasn't been any traction. There's been the Snyder Cut coming out, but that's not a put it into theaters and this is a tentpole movie. That was more of, this is a kind of a novelty. It's like the Donner cut of Superman 2.
Mm-hmm.
Though ironically, that is like put into collections now as like Superman 2 instead of the Lester cut, which is weird to me. I really wonder, like, people who have never seen it before, like, get the Donner cut and are like confused, is like, this is what came out in 1981. But we're getting to the point where we're 9 years away from Man of Steel, which was the last standalone Superman film. And people want, and I say this as a generalization, there are people that just want a Superman film. They just want to see it. They just want to see it happen.
Exactly.
Like you said, I think most of us would prefer that Cavill was in it. He certainly deserves that chance. But at what point is Superman and Lois now so popular that it's kind of ironic that there isn't a movie because of the TV, where usually it's the other way around?
Yeah, no, very true. It's a good point. And to be fair, there is films coming out that are tied to the Snyderverse, as far as like there's a new Aquaman movie coming out, and it's still Jason Momoa, and there's a new Flash movie coming out, and it's still Ezra Miller. Wonder Woman is continuing, so those characters and those actors are still in their roles, but we're not getting what he had planned for a 3-film Justice League movie or whatever. But nevertheless, why can't we get a Superman film like those people, like those characters are getting, with Henry Cavill in the role, that's not necessarily directed by Zack Snyder, and that's not necessarily tied to anything else other than the fact that it's Henry Cavill playing Superman in a standalone movie. It's not that hard.
Yeah, and Michael Ballack in the chat says that apparently the head of Discovery wants, which is about to take over ownership of the WB, wants a Superman film, which is weird because if TikTok is any indication, Discovery is all about wanting to bring Snyder back, and the like Alex Jones level conspiracy theories that come out about it, like how it's all going to come together, and either the delayed movies are a sign that it's going to happen, or the delays are in spite of it happening. And it's just like, man, y'all got a lot of free time. I mean, you and I spend an hour a week talking about Superman on YouTube, but still, that's only an hour out of our week. I mean, we prepare for this, but to sit there and either like troll the internet looking for that stuff, or just making it up whole cloth. I'm apparently in a mood tonight, and I apologize if I go out of the way, but that whole head of Discovery wants a Superman film, I'd love that. I'd love to have the parent company wanting to do something with Superman, because we haven't had that in decades.
Indeed. Well, we'll wait and see what happens. The rumour mongers will be out and about doing their thing and having a good time of it. But nevertheless, as you mentioned, we have Superman on television, which is doing really well. People are loving the show, and we have a new episode coming tomorrow night. And here's a reminder of the trailer for that episode.
How do we respond in the face of a crisis?
What if they're trying to get into the inverse world?
It was straight out of Poltergeist.
You stopped Superman.
I had no choice.
So there you have it. That's the trailer for tomorrow night's episode, which is titled Into Oblivion. It's the 8th episode of season 2, so looking forward to reading your review of that one, Michael, and obviously sitting down and watching it myself.
7 more episodes to go. It's getting to be kind of crunch time. I'm almost a little sad because it's gonna, we got a couple more months, but still, that's it seems to be flying by this year.
And yeah, it does. And just to be clear, it's sad because the season is ending. We still don't know if it's been renewed for a 3rd season, so we're not thinking that the series is ending. I imagine because it's doing so well that it will get picked up for a 3rd season. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I mean, and not only here in the States, but internationally, it's doing extremely well. So, I think, we don't know what's happening with the CW. We don't know if they're going to keep the contract or if selling the CW means that they're going to completely overhaul all the shows. It would seem weird to do so. Because the CW kind of has a brand at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you're going to buy that, why would you go, okay, I'm going to buy this thing.
And wipe the slate clean.
It's like buying a mansion and then completely repainting it and overhauling everything about it to make it like a split level home. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense.
Knock down, rebuild.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the television side of things as well. New episode tomorrow night of Superman and Lois. I just want to get in before we get into the real comic book side of things and do our fan favorite segment as well, and this week in history. I just wanted to make mention that this past week we had the first issue of Batman Superman World's Finest. This was the comic book by Mark Waid with art by Dan Mora. It's a very colourful, vibrant, kind of Silver Age-ish story, doing really well. People absolutely loving it, and Mark Waid himself actually got in on a comic teaser video that DC published this past week and had a few things to say about this. Here's the video.
The Batman-Superman dynamic works because they're archetypes. Some writers have treated them adversarially, some of them have treated them as best friends hanging out. We're going to meet somewhere in the middle. The first arc of Batman-Superman World's Finest introduces the Devil Nezha, who is this ancient villain who has been imprisoned for centuries and centuries, who's come back to fight the heroes of today. The book is Batman-Superman World's Finest, but really it's Superman, Batman, and Robin World's Finest. Having him in the series gives me a window to do a little bit more sort of acrobatic adventuring. Dan blew my mind with the injection of red kryptonite into Superman's heart. He blew my mind with the shots of Metallo, who was absolutely appropriately frightening. The book looks as fresh and present and contemporary as anything else we're publishing.
So there you have it. That's the video with Mark Waid talking about the world's finest comic book, Superman, Batman and Robin all involved. And our reviewer Tony Parker loved this. He gave it a 4 out of 5. He says he was very excited for this book and was absolutely said it is highly recommend it. He said if not for everything else, it's a not a 5 but a very strong 4 out of 5. So you can read his full review on our website.
Yeah, and I kind of like the fact that the current vibe at DC Comics, even though I don't have my fingers on the pulse of how the books that are coming out and all that, but it seems like the current vibe is that we're going to do different versions of the same character. And there was a point where they're like, no, you're going to confuse people. But I think now it seems like the audience is like, okay, if you want new and a more progressive type of Superman book, there's the new Superman in the form of Jonathan Kent. If you want to see the original Superman still doing like high octane action, epic stories, you've got Action Comics. And now we've got Mark Waid, who has a reputation for being kind of a Silver Age guy, doing again what Mark Waid always does. He always gets tagged at that, but he has always written within the parameters of the era he's writing in. So the fact that he's doing something that's a little more lighthearted, it involves Robin, and it involves the Doom Patrol, and it's just like, this is how big this book is. I'm like torn. Like, I don't know if I want to read it, but do I want to read it single issue, or do I want to wait for the trade? Because I've rarely seen a book get this universal praise amongst a pretty diverse audience.
No, it's doing really well. The first issue was fantastic, and I'm really looking forward to issue number 2 when it's released. I think it's in the middle of next month. So yeah, if you're not into that book yet, make sure you pick up the first issue. You can get the links through our website. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're almost at the halfway point of tonight's show. Then we're going to come back and do the fan favourite segment of our show, This Week in History, and really get into the comic book side of Superman this week. We'll be back right after these messages. Don't go anywhere.
We'll be back in a moment with the exciting climax of today's episode. So stand by.
If you're enjoying Superman Homepage Live, then please like and share this video with your family and friends. Also, if you'd like to subscribe to our YouTube channel, then you can click on the bell to receive notifications whenever we post a new video. You can also join our YouTube membership program, just click the join button below. Or you can become a patron and support our website by going to patreon.com/Superman Homepage.
Up in the sky.
It's a bird.
It's a plane. No, it's SupermanHomepage.com, the #1 Superman fan site in the world. SupermanHomepage.com, covering the world of Superman from the 1930s to today. News, reviews, rumors, and reports. SupermanHomepage.com for all your Superman comics, TV shows, movies, cartoons, radio shows, and more. Everything you ever wanted to know about the Man of Steel and more. SupermanHomepage.com.
Thanks, Superman Homepage, for all the support over the years. I really appreciate it.
I'm Matt Balmer. I'm the voice of Superman in Superman Unbound, and this is the Superman Homepage.
Right here on Superman Homepage.
Attention, Superman fans. Superman glasses are coming to Taco Bell.
That's right. Taco Bell is offering Superman glasses.
With exciting scenes from the movie. There's 6 of them. Every time you buy a medium-sized Pepsi-Cola, you can buy a Superman glass. But supplies are limited, so hurry down to your Taco Bell and start your own collection of Superman glasses.
Superman glasses, now only at Taco Bell.
And we're back on Superman Homepage Live. We're going to get into this, the fan favourite segment of our show. Here is our intro. Alright, Michael, what was our fan favourite question from last week?
That is, what is your favorite live-action version of Cat Grant? Lois and Clark, Smallville, Supergirl, and why? J.P. Rocha wrote in, I think the best version of Cat Grant would have to be Callista Flockhart. To be honest, this is the only version I know. But do not let that undersell the job Callista did, combined with the show's good writing to bring Cat to life in Supergirl.
Yeah, I think the return of her character at the end of the series was a nice touch as well.
Yeah, I mean, that it really, to me, not having her in that final episode would have been a mistake.
Yeah,
it
definitely
really would have.
Yeah. Next up, we have Stephen Marshall, who said, "My favourite live-action version of Cat Grant is Tracy Scoggins. She was both a fun character, but one you could see had layers. Unfortunately, we only ever got glimpses of those layers, and it's such a shame she didn't stick around beyond season 1, as I felt we probably would have gotten some great stories with her in the coming seasons. I think what makes her stand out from other live-action Cat Grants is she actually felt like Cat Grant, although a little more unlikable than the comic version, but that's not a bad thing."
That's an interesting point. I don't. Well, actually, the Cat Grant from like 2009, 2010 was kind of unlikable in the comics. But if I'm remembering correctly, she just wasn't really happy with Tracy Scoggins, the actress, not Cat Grant, because she's not a real person. She just wasn't really happy with how they treated the character, because she was really just brought in for eye candy.
Yeah.
And I frankly don't blame her.
No, fair enough. And who was the final person?
It's Ryan Ignatius Pratt wrote, "My favorite live-action Cat Grant would have to be that played by Tracy Scoggins on Lois and Clark. Performance of the character was a brilliant mix of flirtation and humor. An honorable mention goes to Callista Flockhart, though, for her more mature take on the character in Supergirl, one that was still humorous but mixed with the wisdom of a mentor figure."
Yep, excellent. So thank you to those three guys for letting us know who their favourite version of Cat Grant was and why. We appreciate your sending in those responses. Michael, who is your favourite Cat Grant?
It's like Callista Flockhart and Tracy Scoggins are kind of neck and neck for me.
Mm-hmm.
I know that sounds weird, but there were moments on Lois and Clark's first season, especially, I think it was the second episode, where the planet was raided by the federal agents looking for information on Superman. And there was just like this really nice moment between Kat and Clark where she was just like in a sweatshirt. And she was like playing that, but it just seemed more real. And then there was All Shook Up, where she's thinking she's about to die, so she starts pouring her heart out to a priest. And it was just this really great moment, and then they completely ruined it by having her come on to the priest. But Callista Flockhart, I have to agree that it was a more mature take on the character. She definitely had it. Really, to me, felt like this is what Cat Grant would be like after she started her own multimedia company and went beyond just being the gossip columnist at the Daily Planet.
Yeah, I agree. I think Callista Flockhart, for me, was the preferred version. That more mature mentor type role, I like that for Cat Grant. Maybe my opinion of Tracy Scoggins is kind of a little bit marred by the interview that I did with her at the Superman Celebration a couple of years ago, or quite a few years ago now. I didn't like, there was something about her and her personality, like not as an actress, just as a person, that kind of grated on my nerves. But that's just a personal opinion there. I think she did a great job with what she was given in Lois and Clark. I just didn't like, as you said, she was more of the eye candy thing, and I just didn't. It was kind of like very two-dimensional to me, and so I liked the Callista Flockhart version a little bit more, just for the character building that they did for Cat Grant.
No love for the versions from Smallville. That was kind of weird.
Yeah, it's very forgetful version of the character, I think. Forgettable. Anyway, that's the fan favourite question from last week. What is our new fan favourite question for this week?
Oh, this can't be controversial at all. Who's your favourite Superman artist?
Your favourite comic book artist of all time, Superman, who is it? We recently ran a poll that we did back in 2018, and interestingly, the results of the poll changed in those, 5 years since we last ran the same poll. 4 years since it would be 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, yeah, so 5 years since we last ran the poll, and the results changed. So even though we might have asked this fan favourite question before, it'll be interesting to get a new perspective on where people are at with this question. Who is your favourite Superman comic book artist of all time? Let us know. We will feature your responses when we return to this segment next week. So thank you for getting involved. And how do you get involved? Well, the email address is scrolling across the bottom of your screen now. info@supermanhomepage.com. Send your emails to that and we will read those out when we return to this segment next episode. All right, time for you to take center stage, Michael. This Week in History.
Come with me now, my son, as we break through the bonds of your earthly confinement, traveling through time and space.
Alrighty, going back to 1952 for this one, we go to Adventure Comics number 176, which had a Winslow Mortimer cover. Superboy's New Parents. It seems like a perfectly lovely tale. There was also an Aquaman, Johnny Quick, and Green Arrow story in there. Also that same year, you had Action Comics number 168, which had the Menace from Planet Z. Another Winslow Mortimer cover. Superman looks like he's been hitting the donuts in that cover, but I'm not one to talk, so we're going to just move on from that. Tommy Tomorrow, Congo Bill, and the original Vigilante also had stories in that. We got a very high nude flavored cover of Superman number 153 from 1962 by Kurt Swan and George Klein. We have The Day Superman Broke the Law, The Secret of the Superman Stamp, and The Town of Supermen.
I think it's funny that he's wearing a gun belt over his yellow belt.
Yep. Well, you know, you can never have too many belts.
That's true.
Apparently. It's just weird seeing Superman have a gun belt. Jumping ahead to 1972, we have the secondary characters taking center stage. We have Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen number 149, where Jimmy is apparently stripping Superman nude on the street. I love this. This proves you're the killer, Superman. It's our Bob Oxner cover on that. It was the Jimmy Olsen story was The Unseen Enemy. This is after Jack Kirby left the book, and you can tell. And we also had a couple days later Superman's Girlfriend, Lois Lane, number 122. It's a rather cheeky cover by Bob Oxner. Wow,
mini skirts.
There's a lot to unpack here about who came up with this cover and why.
And the angle.
Yeah, the Lois stories of this are 77 coffins, the day Lois Lane lost her mind. I think they refer to that as the 60s.
Yeah.
And there's apparently an untitled Lois Lane story in there as well. But yeah, there's a lot I don't want to think too deeply about that cover because I think we have Action Comics number 532 in 1982 with a Ross Andrew, very underrated Superman artist. Speaking of Superman artists, and this has Hive and Go Seek. Yeah, as much as Hive became a Teen Titans group of villains, they first appeared in Superman books. Written by Marv Wolfman. So I read that a couple years ago. Marv Wolfman had a really good run in the pre-Crisis days. I think they should collect his stories as opposed to just the ones that he wrote that were drawn by Gil Kane. Going to 1992. Okay, this one, Superman number 67. This is one of my favorite Superman issues. Not so much for what's in the book, but the dumbest rumor ever popped up because of this book. This issue is considered by many the first appearance of Doomsday. Because there was this thing that during Pain Into the Sky, Brainiac dropped this thing in the out of War World, and it landed on Earth, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's where Doomsday came from," and it made this particular issue skyrocket in price.
Oh wow!
But and this was 1990s, right?
Yeah.
But this issue explains what that thing was and what happened to it, and Superman dealt with it. But as late as like 2012, 2013, I was at a comic show, and one dealer had this book, and it had the first appearance of Doomsday on it, and like a ridiculous markup price.
Wow.
Dan Jurgens talked about it in an issue of Wizard back in the day. But yeah, it's a fun, like post. I mean, we're now, when we talk about 1992 books, we're in that era after Panic in the Sky, but before Death of Superman, so it's going to get kind of interesting. Jumping ahead to 2002, we have Supergirl number 68, where Mary Marvel and Supergirl team up. This is, I think, the second time they teamed up, because Mary Marvel was part of, remember the Plus books?
Yes.
From 1997? Yeah. Good times. We also had Superman, the Man of Steel number 124. We're coming into the home stretch of this title. Still written by Mark Schultz with like 3 inkers, so I'm assuming there was a deadline problem. But yeah, we're almost to the point where there is no Superman the Man of Steel. Very sad. Jumping ahead to 2012, and Steve had to school me on this one, because I only said Justice League number 7, completely missing, which was a fun little interstitial issue, I thought, of the series. This book started out really kind of weak and got better as it went along, and I think we're still in the midst of it being kind of weak, but the story itself is enjoyable. We also had Supergirl number 7. I could not tell you again a thing about what happened in this issue, because I don't remember anything about Supergirl and Superboy from the New 52.
Oh, I remember the Supergirl series in New 52 quite well. She was angry all the time. As pretty much that's the tale of the story there.
I do remember they retooled her like 15 times.
Now, yeah, well, you'll remember in Supergirl, the TV series, there was what's that? The World Killer. What was her name?
Rain.
Yes, she was part of this story.
Yes, legendary epic character Rain.
Yeah, there you go.
We also had Tiny Titans number 50, which looks totally adorable. It had some super characters in it, and it also had the Young Justice number 14, which was tied into the television series and written by the guy writing the television series. So it was more so than others, probably more closely tied to it. In the real world, Krypton premiered in 2017 on March 21st. My Facebook memories reminded me of all the fun me and a bunch of people had doing the trivia contest that Sci-Fi had. I ended up winning being a runner-up 5 nights.
Oh wow!
So they sent me 5 boxes of the thing. So I had 5 T-shirts and 5 copies of the World of Krypton trade paperback, and 5 of the USB charging thing that didn't work very well. I ended up giving most of them away at a convention as prizes
Nice.
for a thing that I was doing. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Gone too soon, I really think.
Definitely.
March 25th, 2016, Batman v Superman premiered. And on the same day in 2005, Crypto premiered. Kind of a different vibe.
Yeah, just a little bit.
to both of those. And March 26th, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, praise be his name, was born in 1948. And that is This Week in History.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Michael, for that trip down memory lane. Some interesting times looking back at This Week in History. So there we have it. All right, so DC this past week, looking at the comic book side of things, released the solicitations for June, and here are some of the interesting comic books that we need to focus on coming out in June, being this one is Action Comics 1044. The War World Revolution is here, with the Genesis Stone feeding Calil a portion of his long dormant powers. The quest to overthrow Mongol's tyrannical rule is well underway. but can Superman convince the war-torn combatants of his hellish nightmare planet that kindness can best cruelty? So that's a pretty cool looking cover there. Still kind of sporting that chain link S symbol, but in full costume, which is interesting.
Yeah, and that's an interesting combination of the two. I think I'm kind of digging that.
Yep, and also out in June is Superman, Son of Kal-El, number 12. Lex Luthor and President Bendix have joined forces to unleash the Gamora Corps on Superman and put a stop to the first son of the last son of Krypton once and for all. That's a bit of a full kind of title. The first son of the last son of Krypton.
The first son of the last son. That is... I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Bit of a mouthful.
That's like somebody trying to make fetch happen, and I don't know if that's actually going to work or not.
Yes, bit strange. And also coming out in June, DC announced Dark Crisis Young Justice, a mini-series that will obviously tie into the Dark Justice event, which is DC's upcoming big thing that they're doing. And this will start in June. The DC's young heroes will be faced with a crisis of their own in a story written by Megan Fitzmartin with art by Laura Braga. So yeah, it's an interesting one. It's this reaction to a Dark Crisis story. So it'll be interesting to see what the Young Justice crew have to do with the Dark Crisis event coming up.
Yeah, I love that Todd Knock came back to do the cover for it. I was a real fan of Young Justice back when it was the original Young Justice, because now there's like 3. So
true. So yeah,
you also have the Superman 78 hardcover coming out or being solicited. This thing coming out in July.
July, yes, that's right.
And the Supergirl miniseries that wrapped up recently, and boy, was that divisive.
Yeah, I'm seeing so many people going, I've been recommending this for people who don't read comic books and want to read comic books and get into, and this is a great, the fact that this is coming out and, it's been, the trade paperback's coming out and Tom King wrote, it's like thanking everyone for all the great comments. And then on the other side of things, you got our reviewer who was just like, do not read this, don't go anywhere near it, this is like toxic, don't touch it. The artwork was spectacular and quite unique, but it has Tom King's trademark kind of negativity there's no real hope.
He likes to explore what the kind of like people's damage, I guess. I can't think of the proper thing to say right now. But that's what he likes to explore. So when you're getting a Tom King story, you're going to be looking at somebody exploring the more traumatic elements of the character. Heroes in Crisis was that entire series,
exactly,
for good or ill, and it just seems like people they either loved it or they cited it as another example of somebody taking Kara, who is basically a figure of hope, and kind of putting her in a really dark place or making her dark. I mean, we were just talking about the New 52 one. She was angry for like the first half of that series. Just angry all the time.
Exactly, and just, I mean, you can understand. She came from a planet that was exploded, and she lost her life, and everything's behind her, and blah 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 blah. But yeah, for a character that's supposed to be of hope, and Tom King's story was very dark and gritty, and it was true grit in Supergirl
in space. Yeah.
So anyway. Up to you. Buy it, don't buy it. Read it, don't read it. We've given you our opinion. It's up to you. Make up your own mind. Also, DC this week have been, for June, announcing their annual Pride Anthology will be returning. They've got a whole slew of publications coming out, including a DC Pride 2022 collection. New stories, fan favorite characters, and more Pride than ever before. They're also coming out with variant covers for their regular issues, regular titles. There's Superboy, Son of Kal-El there, and you can see Clark and Lois. Sorry, Superman, Son of Kal-El. You can see Superman and Lois there. This is actually Action Comics 1044's variant cover, and then Superman Son of Calil number 12, that's its variant Pride cover. These are all coming out in June.
The first son of the last son.
Yes, indeed. But as for Superman comic books coming out this week, here is what you have to look forward to. We have Action Comics 1041 that is out this week in a variant cover celebrating the four Superman, Steel, Cyborg Superman, Last Son, and Superboy. A cool variant cover there. And that's pretty much it. That's the only new comic book coming out this week. There is a second printing of Dark Knights of Steel number 4 available this week. But yeah, just Action Comics 1041.
That's a light week.
Yeah, it's... And our review of that comic book will be published on our website tomorrow. So as it's getting released, so you'll be able to check out the review of Action Comics 1041 on the day it comes out. Alright, we mentioned at the top of the show in our graphic for this episode of tonight's Superman Homepage Live, it was all about the fact that there's been some auctions and upcoming auctions for some rare Superman comic books, some rare covers, rare artwork, and the background behind me is of Superman number 1, and this comic book recently sold for $141,450. It is a 1.0 graded CGC comic, which is, I think, pretty much the lowest on the lowest scale of things. It's got a torn back cover, as you can see here. The yellow, the edges are torn. There's the yellowing of the pages, but nevertheless, a very historic issue.
Yeah, I mean, you can buy a small house for that, for what that book costs. And again, I would like it, but I don't have 141,000. There's another auction we're going to be talking about that I would really
love to get involved in.
Really like to be able to get involved in that I will not be able to. So,
yeah, I mean, Superman number 1 is the first comic book that was titled specifically for a character. They're usually action comics, detective comics, fun comics, all those kind of things. Superman was the first time that a new title had been given specifically to one individual character. So a very historic moment in history. That was $141,000 US. And the one that I think you're referring to is the, or maybe is it this one?
Yeah, it's this one.
Of course, Death of Superman, Michael's Wheelhouse. A Heritage Auctions lists original Death of Superman art by John... How do you pronounce his surname? Is it...
Bogdanov.
Bogdanov, yeah, because I used to hear a lot of people saying Bogdanovi. But anyway.
Super nice guy. We talked to him.
Yes, we did. We had him on our show when it was back as an audio show. He's selling off original pieces of art from the Death of Superman era. You've got pages from the Death of Superman, from issue number 18 to number 20 of Superman the Man of Steel, the cover of the Death of Superman trade paperback collection, the 0 Hour edition of Superman the Man of Steel number 37, the 0 Hour pin-up illustration of Batman surrounded by many different eras of Superman. These are some classic John Bogdanov artwork.
I mean, like, if I had the money, it'd be hard to choose which one that I wanted the most. Probably the 0 Hour covers, just because they're just so neat. And that Batman surrounded by Superman was like a promotional poster. That it's a double-sided poster. The Superman surrounded by Batman, and on the other side you have Batman. Hey, I go all fast again. Surrounded by Superman. So, but it's just like that cover to the trade paperback. I mean, it's just, it's history to me. It belongs in a museum.
So, that's pretty cool. And original artwork, the actual original pages. And they're usually giant size, aren't they? They're not the same size as a comic book. they're drawn.
No, they're scaled up.
Yes.
They shrink it down. But yeah, I've got a little bit of original artwork, not a whole lot. Definitely nothing of that scale.
Yeah.
Because you'd be seeing it behind here like every
Right,
week.
of course
I have it up.
Yes.
So.
in prime position. Also, the auction coming up for these Ashcan comic books. Can you explain what Ashcan artwork is for people out there?
If I have this right, because it's been a while since I've read about this, basically publishers would put these like copies together,
like a prototype.
Like a prototype to send off to get it copyrighted.
Right.
So DC would copyright concepts like, we're seeing the Superboy one here, but it's a Batman cover. They just slap the Superboy logo on there to get it off so that they could copyright the concept of Superboy.
Right.
And same with Superwoman. And these things are because that's not Superwoman, that's Dr. Fate. So in the half helmet phase. And they're kind of fascinating because they're just so rare. They weren't created to be published. They were created as kind of an in-house thing. And these people apparently found some. And I'm sure they're going to go for a pretty good bit of money.
Yep. Heritage Auctions will be listing those, I believe it is. So, yeah, you'll want to check that out as well, coming up in April. All right, well, that pretty much brings us to the end of tonight's show. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to this episode of Superman Homepage Live. Thanks to everyone in the comments there on YouTube. We appreciate your involvement. Mind the Gap, Mark, JP, who else have we got in there? A couple of others, Michael, Emmanuel. We appreciate all your involvement watching the show live. Thank you so much for doing that and spending the evening with us. And thank you to our sponsors, Douglas Meacham, John Patrick Van Pelt, and Tina Murray, and our main sponsor, Blazed Candle Co. And thank you to you, my co-host, Mr. Michael Bailey. Thank you, Mike.
Pleasure as always, Steve.
Now remember, if you missed the show, can't tune in late, didn't catch it all, you'll be able to watch it in full at our website and our YouTube channel, supermanhomepage.com. Michael and I will be back next week on Monday, March 28th for another edition of Superman Homepage Live. We'll hope you'll join us then. Until then, be sure to check out supermanhomepage.com for all your daily news updates on everything surrounding the Man of Steel. I'm Steve Eunice on behalf of myself and Michael Bailey. Thanks for watching Superman Homepage Live, brought to you by supermanhomepage.com. Good night.